Previously on the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast.
For February,
yes,
we're going to be reading a pair of quick read novellas
right?
featuring the 10th Doctor and Martha.
Oh, cool.
And both of them are written by the one, the only, Terrance Dicks.
Oh!
We'll be reading Made of Steel and Revenge of the Judoon.
Oh, okay. I'm more excited for one of those than I am for the other.
And now our story continues.
Welcome, everyone, to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. This is Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London. How's it going, Matt?
Well, I was going to be done with console room, but we're in a little timey-wimey way. It's next weekend, so very hectic as we're getting ready for that. But other than that, going well. And by the time listeners, you hear this, it'll be long distant and people will be meeting up for Gallifrey. So
Yes, but you could also watch last year's console room on YouTube, or at least parts of it.
yeah, they've released
Yes.
all of the, or I should say we've released all of the
Yes.
panels now from last year, and a number of panels from this year
Cool.
are also now out on YouTube, including you can catch Chris in Defense of Season 22 panel,
Yes.
which will be live on YouTube by the time this goes out.
Yes, an opportunity to talk about Time Lash and other stories. Yes,
Excellent.
yes.
How are things going with you, Chris?
Yeah. It's raining. It's kind of but we are very much in the kind of the midwinter up here, and also when is the new season going to start?
And which direction is the rain falling?
Yeah, it's primarily falling downwards. It was a little bordering on the horizontal. It has not started falling upwards yet, which may be a bit of a subtle hint as to the nature of what we're going to be discussing in part today.
That's right. Today we are reviewing Made of Steel and Revenge of the Judoon, both written by Terrance Dicks as part of the Quick Reads program. But first, we've got a couple of things to share with you, book news related. May 29th, we'll see a number of releases, some of which we've mentioned on the show before, but we have new details about. So first, there are two upcoming hardcover novels, both coming out on May 29th, and both featuring the 15th Doctor and his new companion, Belinda. And they are Fear Death by Water by Emily Cook and Spectral Scream by Hannah Ferguson. And then also on that day, there will be a digital audiobook bundle of the first three books in the Icon series, so the Celebrity Historical series, and Charles Darwin, Frida Kahlo, and the as of yet untitled Shirley Jackson volumes. And then on October 30th, there will be a second volume of three Icons audiobooks, featuring Book 4 with Fela Kuti, Book 5, which we don't know that much about yet, and then a Volume 6, which was previously unannounced. So that's kind of cool that there'll be at least 6 books in that Icon series. And some other very interesting news, it appears that Robert Shearman has penned new novelizations of his classic Big Finish stories Jubilee and The Chimes of Midnight that are due out next fall. And Jubilee is supposed to be a brand new radical reinterpretation, so not sure how closely these will stick to the original audio plays, or if Rob's kind of reworking them with additional material.
Cool.
And I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, because it doesn't appear, at least from what I can tell from the online listings, whether Big Finish are publishing these directly, or if they are BBV style, licensing these novelizations back to the BBC for publication. So we'll find out more, I'm sure. And apparently these will be hardcover,
Okay.
which I might have preferred paperback to fit in with the other recent targets.
Yeah.
But who knows, potentially they're hardcover first, then paperback reissues may follow, or maybe it's a new hardcover only line. Time will tell.
It usually does.
And then finally on October 31st, it looks like Penguin will be publishing a Doctor Who 100 Scariest Monsters by Gosha Aoma, which, according to the blurb, will cover Daleks, Cybermen, and the Weeping Angels.
Cool.
And I think that brings us to show and tell.
Yeah.
So, Chris, what do you have for us?
I have something it is not Doctor Who. However, it is a historical science fiction comedy film I watched last night, Time Stalker, which is written by, directed by, and starring Alice Lowe. Alice Lowe has not been in Doctor Who. However, the cast includes Nick Frost, so Father Christmas, Jacob Anderson, so Vinder,
Yeah.
and Aneurin Barnard, who is Roger Ap Allen from the most recent series.
Huh.
The basic plot is that Agnes, played by Alice Lowe, falls in love with the wrong man and then gets reincarnated and falls in love with him over and over again throughout time. It's just shy of 90 minutes, so it's not going to take an enormous amount of your time, and I think it's filmed entirely in Wales. Wales is proving as versatile there as it does in Doctor Who.
The description reminds me a little bit of, I'm blanking on the name of the film, but it's two lovers that are like reincarnated, and they end up as like trees.
Yes, yeah. Is that Orlando? Or,
no, but yeah, same sort of.
Yeah, there's comedy, there's pathos. Yeah, it's very entertaining, and I would say worth your time. I mean, it's a slightly different vibe to Doctor Who. However, yeah, it's enjoyable. We were laughing out loud. It has had some mixed reviews. I think some people wanted it to be more of a romantic comedy. It's called Time Stalker. That might give you a bit of a vibe. Kind of like where we're going. It's not called Time Love. Time Stalker.
Oh, the movie I was thinking of was The Fountain by
Darren
Aronofsky with Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz.
Yeah, so I don't know what it's available on in the US, but in the UK I think it's available on Now, and also it'll be available on other platforms.
Yeah, I haven't heard about it in the US yet, so I wonder if it's come out here yet.
It was premiered at South by Southwest last year.
Oh, okay.
It's been at Canadian festivals and various others, so I don't know if it has been released yet in other countries. But it is something worth having a look for, because like time periods include like 1680s Scotland, 1980s Manhattan, and various others. It is good fun, and I would say it very much zigs when you're expecting it to zag.
Sounds intriguing. And what was it called again?
It is called Time Stalker.
Time Stalker. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
And Alice Lowe would be fantastic casting in Doctor Who. You might know her from Bandersnatch.
Oh, for the Black Mirror Choose Your Own Adventure. Yeah.
Yeah, she was also in Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, so she might be better known in the UK for having written and appearing in the movie Sightseers and also Prevenge, which is about a pregnant woman going on a killing spree. Tends to skew slightly dark. Time Stalker. There we go. How about you, Matt?
Well, this month I'm going to talk about a couple of things I got in the mail from a store in the UK called Little Shop Props. And I was able to get a display stand for my 15th Doctor sonic screwdriver because it won't sit upright in a mug. So it's a beautiful like acrylic, but it's kind of on a gold base that has different Time Lord language art on it, very much like a fan-made Etsy style shop. And then I also got a 7th Doctor TARDIS key, the elongated kind that was featured in Ghostlight.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. It has like a Warren, like metallic finish to it. And I will be wearing it proudly at the convention next weekend.
Cool.
Yeah, and they have all sorts of stuff like vortex manipulators and different sonics and sonic display stands. So do check them out. It's kind of like a niche little, very high quality of dubious legal. The 2nd Doctor's sonic is, I think, described on their site as like a Troughton pen light, that type of thing. But
Yeah.
very impressed by the quality and pretty fast shipping and stuff. So do check them out if you are in need of a display stand for your Sonic collection or
Yes.
anything like that.
I do love Dragon Pen lights. That's good work. Well done, people.
So this month we're visiting with Terrance Dicks.
Yes, indeed.
I met Terrance at Gallifrey in 2014, which turned out to be his fourth and final appearance at Gallifrey 1. And this first book, Made of Steel, I had forgotten until I opened the book that he had signed it for me. Which was great. I was very appreciative of my past self for getting his autograph there. But yeah, maybe we should talk a little bit about the Quick Reads program.
Yes. Yeah.
It was a literacy organization working with book publishers to provide low-cost, low-page count books to encourage people to read. And that's partially why I picked these books for this month, because I knew I would be somewhat busy with console room preparation, so it worked out nicely. And we hadn't read anything from this range before. And I think Quick Reads was like a conglomeration of 3 different literacy organizations that came together to kind of publish under this moniker. And it was launched by Tony Blair back in 2006. And through mid-2020, over 100 titles had published, and over 4.8 million copies had been sold, and over 5 million copies had been loaned through libraries.
It's still going.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't involve Doctor Who anymore, but if you look at the readingagency.org.uk, there are titles that are out on the 23rd of April.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything past 2020 in what I was looking at, so that's cool that they're still around.
Yeah. I don't know whether some of these books are abbreviations or whether they're all original titles, but you can get quite a lot of these from public libraries in the UK. And in addition to all the Doctor Who material, you have books by people like Andy McNabb and Ian Rankin and Benjamin Zephaniah. So those are household names in the UK. Yeah, there's a wide variety of different genres. So if you know someone and they, for whatever reason, maybe aren't the most confident of readers, but they want to have a stab at it and they're not into Doctor Who, then you should definitely point them to Quick Reads, because there may well be something there for them. And they continue working with prisons and hospitals and various other organisations to make sure folks can access the books.
Very cool.
Yeah, so rumours of their death.
Slightly exaggerated.
Yes.
Excellent. And so Made of Steel was originally published March 1st of 2007.
Yes.
And of course, we've talked about Terrance Dicks several times on the show, but he's written over 50 Doctor Who novels and also very prolific author of books for children outside of Doctor Who, and was showrunner along with Barry Letts during the end of the Second Doctor and all of the Third Doctor era and the very beginning of the Fourth Doctor era.
Yes.
So it's going to span 3 Doctors there.
Yes, and he co-wrote the Master's debut of the War Games, if the recent...
Have you had a chance to watch that?
I have not yet, no. But I might download it on my phone legally from iPlayer for me to be able to kind of like watch it as part of travels later on this month. But
And this book was published on March 1st of 2007, and it's notable because it's the first ever appearance of Martha in any medium, predating the broadcast of Smith and Jones by a full month, because that went out on March 31st.
Yes.
So this is Martha's debut in this novel.
Yes, and confusingly, it references it quite a bit.
And the Doctor Who reference guide places this story after the episode 42, which it's kind of hard because it's the 10th Doctor and Martha going back to Earth.
Yeah.
She doesn't visit her family. She decides to visit her coworkers at her hospital instead.
Yes.
So I wonder if like Terrance Dicks had knowledge that, she meets up back with her family in the Lazarus experiment. Martha does reference like recently encountering a mad scientist, which makes me think it's, at least after the Lazarus experiment. But yeah, hard to say. And there are 16 titled chapters. No zingers like Escape to Danger, but I did appreciate Crisis Conference and lots of one-word ones like Caught, Hostage, Attack, and Battleground.
Yes.
In a classic Terrance Dicks style.
Yes, indeed. Let's not use unnecessary words, yes.
Shall we get started?
Yeah, let's get started. So, we begin with the Megatech Centre in London, which is apparently Britain's largest electronics store. I say largely. It's fictitious, folks, and it's attacked at 3 o'clock in the morning by two silver giants who kill the guards and steal equipment in quite an effective scene. The police believe it was a professional robbery, but it's all somewhat puzzling, the fact that the alarms failed to go off, and also as well that the guards were killed, and a survivor mentions these silver giants.
And you would think that during these attacks at the beginning that the security guards might have recognized Cybermen from like the Army of Ghosts incident or the Battle of Canary Wharf, but maybe they just memory hold that.
Yeah.
And it is interesting too how Terrance Dicks always has like little kind of one-off descriptions of the Doctor, so folks might remember from like Target novelizations, the Fifth Doctor having a pleasant open face or a shock of white hair for the third and first Doctors. The 10th Doctor in this book is described as a skinny geek in a pinstripe suit.
Yep, which is true.
So then there's a secret Whitehall laboratory which is also attacked, leaving one survivor who describes the same attackers. And at Chadwick Green Government Research Center, no idea if that's a real place or not.
Don't believe it is, no.
A sentry spots another silver figure, but is killed after raising the alarm. And soldiers and an armored car are destroyed as the invaders break into a lab.
Chadwick Green appears to be in Liverpool. It's described as a picturesque village. Meanwhile, the Doctor and Martha are escaping a Tyrannosaurus Rex in a prehistoric jungle before returning to London. Rather cheekily, the book introduces Martha as the Doctor's current companion. Which...
Very little descriptor, but she is, depicted on the cover.
Yes.
And during this dinosaur encounter, Martha makes a reference to another, like, having met dinosaurs before. And this could be a nod to Sting of the Zygons, which also came out around this time, but I think that was published a good 7 weeks later.
Yeah.
So I don't know how coordinated the different book publications were, if Terrance even knew about the Zygon book and some dinosaurs in that as well.
Yeah, who knows? So the army, led by Major Burton and Captain Sarandon, are investigating the attacks that have been happening in then modern-day London and suspect Cybermen, and the army monitor the Doctor's arrival after spotting the TARDIS. I do quite like the fact that Eltal has thought, who shall I name these characters after? I have a male lead and I have a female lead. So let's call one after Richard Burton and one after Susan Sarandon, because that's what's happened here, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think it's like Shelley Sarandon or Sheila Sarandon, I think is right.
Yes.
One other quick note on the dinosaur opening.
Yeah.
So Martha meets a giant Apatosaurus, which is similar. It's a sauropod similar to like Brontosaurus.
Yeah.
However, the Apatosaurus is from the Jurassic era, and the T-Rex that's chasing it is from the Cretaceous era. The appropriate carnivorous dinosaur from the Jurassic, as fans of the 1987 animated series Dinosaurs no doubt know, would be an Allosaurus and not a T-Rex, but... Oh well, maybe this is the T-Rex that has been transported due to time hotel shenanigans or something.
Yes. I can't remember if it was at this point or slightly later. There is a reference to Operation Werewolf, which was a story idea that I think Terrance Dicks came up with for the Second Doctor involving werewolves in the Second World War.
I think that was a real term that was used for like German sleeper cell agents that were left behind in Vichy, France.
Okay. Right. So it's possibly more of a reference to that, but yeah.
But I think he had planned like to have that supernatural or alien component to it.
Yes. Okay.
But yeah, of course, Terrance Dicks sneaking in some World War II references and into the plot, which
yes, I didn't spot any references to Al Capone, but yeah,
there are also quite a few references to Martha's cousin Adelaide and Torchwood 1.
Yes,
which is kind of cool.
Right, shall we get on to the plot? Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
So then there are 3 Cybermen who are hiding in the empty Millennium Dome. So I think this is before it was like refurbished or...
Oh yeah.
Didn't we visit it in Borrowed Time with the 11th Doctor?
We did, actually. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that, but we did. Yeah.
Kind of a little bit further along.
Yeah, the Millennium Dome these days is known as the O2. So it is one of the largest concert venues in the UK. But in those days, it was a recovering, short-lived tourist attraction, and you couldn't really go into it. But it was also there as an opportunity for people to kind of go, well, that was a waste of money, and attack people about. But anyway.
Also home to the Doctor Who 50th anniversary after party live show.
Yes, yes.
So these three Cybermen, which I have to say are very much 80s style Cybermen, like they're conversing with each other far more than typical new series counterparts. And the Cyber leader seems straight up 1980s David Banks version here.
I don't think he says excellent.
No, but
but it's not far off it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was a nice little touch, I think, to kind of tie in, to some of the older Cybermen.
Was it deliberate, do you think, or was it just, this is how I write Cyberman?
Yeah. Yeah, probably more the latter. So these Cybermen who are hiding in the Millennium Dome, they're using this technology they've stolen to try and track the Doctor, isolating for like a 2 heartbeat signal, because they need his help to reopen the void. And the reason that these Cybermen didn't get sucked through the void is because they were made entirely of our Earth parts. So kind of the same reason that I guess Yanto's girlfriend, who is hidden in the Torchwood basement, didn't get sucked back through the void either.
Yes. These Cybermen appear to have more clothes than Yanto's girlfriend does.
Yeah, and I don't think he described them as wearing high heels either, so... So then Martha decides, as we kind of mentioned earlier, to visit her old coworkers at a hospital.
Yes.
The Royal Hope Hospital, in fact, which also just made an appearance in the most recent Christmas special.
Yeah, so it did.
And after encountering the Cybermen in a hospital car park, the Cybermen are able to briefly capture the Doctor, but they end up disappearing due to a teleport malfunction. And the Doctor deduces their earthly origin and why they weren't sucked through the void and all that. And they're experiencing a lot of technology issues, which gives him a bit of an upper hand in terms of having to deal with them.
Yeah. Captain Susan Sarandon, meanwhile, arrests the Doctor and takes him to Chadwick Green, so to the government research centre there. And then Martha, she finds herself taking part in the first of this month's readings, which are read for us by Dan Hanley, who is a fantasy author, and we'll talk a bit more about Dan after we have heard the reading.
Let's have a listen.
Martha hurried from the ward. It had been a mistake just dropping in like this, she thought. Bound to provoke lots of awkward questions. She didn't want to get trapped in a lift with someone who knew her and would ask her even more questions, so she took the stairs down to the busy main foyer and then headed for the car park. To her relief, the TARDIS was still standing in its place. At least the Doctor hadn't taken off, leaving her stranded on Earth. What do I mean stranded, she thought. Earth was her home. This hospital, this car park, were places where she belonged. The idea was strangely hard to accept. Was she becoming, there wasn't a word for it, a citizen of the cosmos? Like the Doctor? How long could she go on jaunting about through time and space with the Doctor, and how could she bear to stop? It all needed a lot of thinking about. Leaning against the TARDIS, she settled down to wait. Suddenly the air in front of her seemed to shimmer. Martha rubbed her eyes and blinked, but the shimmering went on. Inside it, a shape began to form. It was human-like. Head, body, arms, legs, but far bigger than any human. It appeared to be made of metal, of gleaming steel. The massive body had a kind of chest unit, with what looked like layered armour beneath. The head had tubes coming out of it like handles. The eyes were round holes, and the mouth a narrow, oblong slit. Martha knew what it was. She had seen the terrifying shape on television and in countless newspaper photographs at the time of the invasion. It was a Cyberman. Impossible. Doctor? She thought. But here it is, large as life and twice as nasty. You've got some explaining to do. The Cyberman spoke. Its voice was metallic, flat, inhuman.
Where is the Doctor?
Martha gulped and swallowed. Who?
We have monitored a double heartbeat at this location. The Doctor has a double heartbeat. Where is the Doctor?
I don't know.
This box was seen inside the Torchwood Tower. Is the Doctor inside?
No, he's gone away.
Where has he gone?
Martha was backing slowly away from the nightmare figure. Far away. For a long time, she stammered, wishing it was true. but the Doctor might return at any moment, and he could be walking into an ambush. The Cyberman stretched out an arm, and the barrel of a weapon clicked into place at the wrist.
We need the Doctor. Without the Doctor, you are useless to us. This is your final warning. Tell us where to find the Doctor, or you will be deleted.
Thank you, Dan, for reading that.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. So Dan, he is a fantasy author, as we have said. He has got The Great Leap, which is an emotionally charged dark fantasy book, and it's first in a series, and says it's best described as Lord of the Flies with a dose of Hunger Games and a generous helping of Mistborn. Available on Amazon as an ebook, paperback, hardcover, and also as well as an audiobook. Thank you very much, Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Yeah, so Martha's been captured by the Cybermen, and the Doctor bargains for her release and surmises that their plan is to use him to access the void. Martha does she make a phone call at this point?
Yeah, from her mobile to the Doctor when she's able to give him, like, I think a bit of an idea of, I think she says dome, or starts to say dome.
Yes, that's it. And so that gives a bit of a clue to the location. I mean, certainly the Millennium Dome, definitely for Londoners, was incredibly well known at that time.
There's an army assault force which heads to the dome. I don't think there's mentions of Torchwood, but I don't know that unit really gets a whole lot of mention here.
No.
Maybe Terrance didn't want to pay residuals to himself or something.
Yeah, maybe.
So there's a group of army soldiers, most of which head to the Millennium Dome to infiltrate it. But then there's a small group that stays behind to protect the Doctor at Chadwick Green, which is fortunate because the Cybermen decide to attack Chadwick Green to go after the Doctor. Yeah. And there's a big kind of battle sequence, and soldiers end up destroying several Cybermen. So there's the 3 Cybermen, and then they had 3 more, like, in deep hibernation or storage, for a total of 6.
Yeah.
And because of this battle, 3 or 4 of the Cybermen end up getting destroyed with rocket launchers. The body count is quite high.
Yes!
I was surprised how violent the book is. I mean, there's not a lot of graphic detail, but a lot of people died. And yeah. But the cyber leader does not die, and the Doctor faces the cyber leader, who demands his help, or he's going to, using Martha as a hostage, kill her.
Yeah.
So the Doctor agrees to help the Cybermen and goes to the Millennium Dome in the TARDIS, and there's like a force field in place that the soldiers have to, like, they're not able to, like, get through, so they're kind of, like, kept out of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Doctor arrives at the dome with the cyber leader.
Yeah.
And Martha's there as well.
So at the dome, the Doctor manages to trick the Cybermen by using their teleport to open a portal to the prehistoric era. So then a T-Rex emerges who starts destroying the Cybermen and drags one into the portal before the Doctor disconnects the power, killing the cyber leader. So it's quite fun to imagine the T-Rex attacking Cybermen.
And it's the same T-Rex from the beginning of the book too, because the Doctor is able to, like, use the fast return switch to jury rig it to open a portal, and because he knows that there's a T-Rex there, and and then the Doctor actually kills the cyber leader with, like, an exposed power cord, not unlike how the Derek Jacobi Master kills Chantho.
Yeah, that's true.
So that was also kind of a violent moment there.
Yes.
And then with the Cybermen defeated, the Doctor and Martha depart in the TARDIS to go on further adventures.
Yes.
And Captain Susan Sarandon confirms that the threat to London is ended.
Yes.
So that is Made of Steel.
Yes. Yeah.
What'd you make of this one?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, like, does what it says on the tin. I mean, there's no unexpected twists or anything. I mean, I guess it's nice to see the Millennium Dome being used. The Doctor has very strong views on the Millennium Dome. I think it's the Doctor who says, let's just go and check. Oh, yeah. He says, the dome, the good old Millennium Dome. Big, deserted, lots of power outlets, and conveniently close to Canary Wharf. Well, at least someone's found a use for it at last. So the Doctor is anti-dome. I mean, he obviously hasn't quite realised that it's going to be the O2 and it's going to be around for a while. So, I mean, it's all right. It'd been a bit of a confusing read, I think, if you haven't seen the Judoons and haven't seen Smith and Jones, because there are so many references when Martha is at the hospital earlier on to an adventure that hasn't been aired at the time this book had been released.
Yeah.
And also, the Doctor's character is captured well here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not entirely sure Martha's is.
Yeah.
But yeah, she just seems to be a kind of like a generic companion.
Yeah, I mean, you get a few references to like her traveling and stuff, but yeah, there isn't a whole lot from her point of view, or her attraction to the Doctor isn't really hinted at or anything like that. And that's a really good point, that it very much assumes that, hey, you're picking this up as a Doctor Who fan, because there's not a whole lot of, I mean, it's a very short word count, so there's not a lot of explanatory dialogue saying like, this is what a TARDIS is.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because Terrance used to do that like quite a bit in the Target novels and stuff to like at least set up, he's a traveler in time and space. And this is kind of the conceit of the show if you're picking this up for the first time.
Yeah.
I agree too that he has David Tennant down pat in terms of the dialogue and stuff. And I wonder, he must have seen like some or all of series 2, prior to writing Made of Steel. So
yeah, you'd have thought. Yeah. However, Doctor Who under David Tennant was so much bigger in the UK than I think it was certainly in the late 80s. I think it's probably safe to assume that people know what Doctor Who is.
Yeah. I wish there was a little bit more development of some of the side characters, like an extra paragraph each to make you care more about them before they get killed off.
Yep.
That's another thing that he's usually really good about, like the Poacher and Spearhead from Space.
Yeah.
Where they kind of fleshes them out with backstory, but maybe he was limited by the word count or something with the quick reads.
Yeah. You do get, I think, a bit of an intro into the characters of the guards right at the very start. Guarding the Megatech. Terrible name.
Which is just dripping with nostalgia. I mean, you've got MP3 players and internet cafes mentioned, and he does build out the guards' backstories a little bit, but he doesn't do that with like the Susan Sarandon character.
No.
Any of those folks.
No, he just names them after other people just to do the work.
I do feel like this story does a good job of filling in some of the narrative gaps between seasons 2 and 3, like the aftermath of Canary Wharf and some of the cleanup and all the Royal Hospital section, which to your point, they're like, what's going on there?
Though, to be fair, this is often how I read Target novels. Because I would often read Target novels of stories I hadn't seen on telly, and I wouldn't have necessarily even seen that particular TARDIS crew on telly. And I'd just be trying to figure it out and sort of go, oh, I wonder what this Mel Bush character looks like. I wonder who Adric is. He sounds like a nice chap, etc.
Yeah, these kind of one-off mentions or asides that get you more intrigued or interested in wanting to know what it is.
Yeah,
almost like like in Marvel Comics where they would mention something and the editor would chime in with a here's what they're talking about type thing.
That's a very good point. It's not the point I'm trying to make. What I'm trying to make is that I would often, if I was reading a book featuring a TARDIS crew, I might not have seen that TARDIS crew on telly before. And I'd be trying to piece together how did they meet, what's the backstory of the companion or companions.
Got it.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun that a modern audience had that opportunity. But also as well, there are the occasional references to other things and you go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think to a degree we're not really the target audience, are we? But it is said by quite a few folks in the UK that Terrance Dicks did help at least one generation become literate. And I don't just mean of Doctor Who fans, I just mean of young readers, because so many people would read the Doctor Who books and would be encouraged into reading.
Yeah.
I was already quite a confident reader the first time I read a Terrance Dicks book, but I certainly would keep on, and there's so many books of his that I'd read, and it just encouraged me to keep reading.
Yeah, and Terrance Dicks' prose style is very no-nonsense, straightforward prose, which is rather refreshing, too. It's like visiting an old friend in that respect. And the plot was a little on the simplistic side, but it did just zoom by. It was a really quick read. And so how would you score this one?
I think I'm probably going to give it a 6. I mean, it was all right. It wasn't groundbreaking. So, actually, tell you what. I think I'm being harsh. I'll give it a 7. Yeah. It's not the best book ever, but I think particularly if you're able to access it freely or cheaply, then Yeah, it's good. You can get both of these books in the UK at least on Kindle, and you could read them on a bus trip or something. So yeah, or a tube trip, which is I think most of Made of Steel I read on the tube, commuting from work one day. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10 as well.
Yeah.
It did leave me wanting more, but it also felt very nostalgic, from a Target perspective. And despite its short length, it still managed to pack in a few battles and set pieces.
Yeah.
No mention of Harold Saxon, unfortunately. But I did like how the ending circled back to the T-Rex, although it did make me think that there could be a sequel. Maybe there's a cyberized T-Rex out there somewhere.
Yeah, possibly. Though there is a bit of a joke that is going to cause archaeologists and a lot of folks who unearth these ancient remains of the Cyberman to be very confused by the one that the T-Rex decided to have for dinner.
And it was great reading Terrance describe the Vorp noise as a strange wheezing and groaning sound one more time. That was nice too.
Yeah, good fun.
Well, shall we move on to the next one?
Yeah, so next one. So next one is Revenge of the Judoon.
Yeah, Revenge of the Judoon.
This one was published after Judoon's debut, wasn't it?
Yeah, so this one is got 14 titled chapters.
Yes.
Published 11 months after Made of Steel. So in February of 2008, just prior to Series 4, and after Martha's character had left the show.
Yeah.
And sadly, I think this is the last ever Doctor Who book from Uncle Terrance.
Oh.
So he also penned a short story that appears in the Target storybook posthumously, and he also novelized Invasion of the Bane, which was the Sarah Jane pilot, but that came out a year or two prior to this being published.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see how Terrance bows out. So we begin in Balmoral Castle, which is in Scotland, in 1902. So King Edward VII is enjoying a day off before upcoming engagements, and so he has not been king long. So King Edward VII is a king who has come to the throne very much in his slightly more senior years after his mother, who'd been on the throne for a very, very long time. I will let you draw any modern parallels that you might find for that. So the king sends his aide, Captain Harry Carruthers, to hunt a stag. And Carruthers is one of these names that I certainly think of as being very, very posh.
Real quick on King Edward, too. So I looked him up a little bit, too. So eldest son of Queen Victoria, whom we met in Tooth and Claw.
Yep.
And he reigned for about a decade.
He did, yes.
1900 to 1910.
Yeah.
Also known as the Edwardian era.
Yes, indeed. Yes, so Edward sends his aide, Captain Harry Carruthers, to go and hunt a stag. And as Carruthers prepares to shoot the stag, Martha interrupts him.
Which he's kind of grateful about.
Yeah.
Because he didn't really want to kill the animal anyway, so...
Yeah. And then the TARDIS crew and Harry suddenly realise that Balmoral Castle has vanished, leaving a giant hole in the ground. And the Doctor and Martha investigate, and they confirm that it's been abducted by the Judoon. And Carruthers admits that he'd brought a mysterious device to the castle that had been given to him by none other than Arthur Conan Doyle.
And I had no idea that there was an official sequel to The Missing Adventure Evolution by John Peel.
Yes.
We even get acknowledgement in the text that the Doctor has met Doyle before.
Yes.
So good on Uncle Terrance for acknowledging the Missing Adventure range like that. I don't know if that was intentional, but I suspect it was, because he was very much involved with Blood Harvest and the goth opera of kind of launching that, and Evolution was the very next story, so he probably was aware of that connection.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting him to actually mention it in the text here, which was kind of cool.
No. And what a classic book that was. Yes.
So they do some investigating, and the Doctor and Martha split up. So Martha and Carruthers, the Doctor drops them off in London via the TARDIS.
Yeah.
And we get a nice scene of Carruthers kind of reacting to the interior of the TARDIS. And then the Doctor's in orbit around Earth, searching for where Balmoral Castle might be or where the Judoon might be.
Yeah.
And Martha and Carruthers manage to find Doyle at a hotel he's staying at. And Doyle explains he received the device from a group called the Cosmic Peacekeepers, who claimed it was from another world. And these Cosmic Peacekeepers, the secret society, Martha and Carruthers decide to try and track down where their headquarters is.
Yeah.
And this is where our second dramatic reading comes in.
So let's have a listen.
"Here you are, lady and gent," said the cab driver. "Corner of Black Dog Lane. You're on foot from now on. Street's too narrow to take the cab down, even if I wanted to, which I don't. And don't you ask me to wait, because I'm not going to, not round here." Carruthers and Martha got out. Carruthers paid the driver and the cab rattled away. Black Dog Lane. It's more of an alley, really. Lived up to the promise of its name. It was dark, dank, dirty, very smelly, and probably visited by lots of dogs. The scents of the nearby river, muddy water, tar, warehouses full of tea and coal and spices, mixed with far more unpleasant smells from the open sewer that ran down the middle of the street. The lane itself ran between tall, rickety buildings that seemed to lean forward as if to crush it. "Yuck," said Martha, summing it all up. "Charming spot," murmured Carruthers. "Want to turn back?" "Certainly not. Come on." They set off down the alley, avoiding the worst of the puddles and trying not to step in anything too unpleasant. The first of their landmarks, the Gin Palace, was easy to find. Its lights blazed halfway down the gloomy alley. Martha and Carruthers could hear loud voices and even louder music. As they drew nearer, they saw a number of huddled bodies lying on the pavement nearby. They stopped, not wanting to get too close. Martha was horrified, but Carruthers seemed to take it all for granted. Typical gin mill. Drunk for twopence, dead drunk for sixpence. Martha looked at the shop they'd stopped outside. Its grimy windows held piles of old clothes, so shabby it seemed impossible anyone would buy them. "And here's the old clothes shop," she said. "So the steps should be just a little further on." And so they were. They led steeply down to a little area. In the wall on the left, Martha could just make out a heavy door with a small light burning above it. Carruthers led the way down the steps, and they paused outside the door. There was no bell, no knocker, so Carruthers hammered loudly on the door with his fist. But nothing happened. Martha took off her heavy walking shoe and used that, banging away at the door as hard as she could. This did get a result. A hatch opened in the upper part of the door, and a skull-like face looked out. A cold, creaking voice said, "Go away, you drunken fools, or it'll be worse for you." "We're here on important business," shouted Martha. "We come from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle." "Official government business," shouted Carruthers. "Open in the name of the king." The hatch slammed shut, and Martha thought that was it, but a few moments later the door creaked open, and they both stared in astonishment. A white-haired, white-robed figure with a thin, handsome face stood just inside the doorway, bathed in a golden glow. It spoke in a voice of mellow sweetness. "Enter, my children. Welcome to the home of the cosmic peacemakers." The figure stepped back, beckoning Martha and Carruthers inside. They went through into the golden glow. The heavy door slammed shut behind them.
Thank you, Dan, once again. Yeah, you can find Dan Hanley on social media, and we'll be putting his stuff up on their socials so you can have a look. But yeah, he's on Blue Sky and Facebook, but I think not the other place.
Yes. So Carruthers and Martha are met by Professor Challoner, who is very enigmatic.
Yes. He's not very cooperative. He's uncooperative.
Very mysterious.
Yes.
And he refuses to provide them more information. And Martha suspects he's hiding something and plans to return later for more answers, breaking into their headquarters later.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the doctor is able to trace the castle to the...
Well, it's the Empty Quarter, which is a part of the Arabian Desert that the UAE and other countries cover. So it's pretty much where David Tennant goes to film one of his...
Planet of the Dead, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. And Terrance Dicks does like his force field bubbles, you know, like from the demons and as we saw in Made of Steel. So the castle is also under a force field and is guarded by the Judoon.
Yes. So Martha and Carruthers infiltrate the Peacemaker's lair and discover a futuristic power source.
And there's a great scene where Martha decides she can't, because she starts the adventure kind of dressed up in, I think, some of Victoria's clothes from The Abominable Snowmen. Yeah. Kind of based on how they're described. And she's like, has to change. Carruthers keeps saying, like, Martha's dressed like a boy. Yeah. As they're, like, running along the rooftops and breaking in through, like, a sky window or a... What is that called?
Skylight.
Skylight, yeah.
Yeah. It is good fun. Yeah, Terrance Dicks is being quite playful, I think, with the, I was going to say Victorian era, the Edwardian era. I mean, it in some ways reminds me a bit of Talons and how Leela fits in or doesn't in some aspects of it. But yeah, so Professor Challoner has revealed that he is really a lizard. And he declares his plan to take over the world using temporal reversion devices placed in major cities. And Martha and Carruthers have been captured and transported to Balmoral, where the Doctor, who's kind of posing as the King's advisor, is negotiating for their release. And King Edward rejects Challoner's plan for global domination.
Mm-hmm. But he's kind of instructed to play along by
Yes.
the Doctor for a while.
Yeah.
I did find it odd that the Doctor didn't seem too surprised to find Martha and Carruthers back at the castle, given that he had left them halfway across the globe.
Yes.
But he's just kind of like accepts that, oh yeah, they're there. And one of the other kind of fun scenes as Martha and Carruthers are, because they actually encounter Sir Arthur Conan Doyle twice. So they realize that these lizard aliens are kind of shapeshifters. And one of them was impersonating Doyle. But there's a lovely scene where Martha and Carruthers stop for steak and chips for dinner, which is a nice little detail, stopping for food or rest that often gets overlooked in the novels, but good on Terrance to do that.
Yeah.
And then when the Doctor meets King Edward, he starts talking about future lineage, and he makes throw forward references to both King Charles III and King William V.
That's still possible.
And interesting that Dicks decides not to count William, King of Scots, in that numbering.
Yeah. I think Charles III is... Charles III is the third King Charles of Scotland, I think. But Elizabeth II was the first Queen Elizabeth of Scotland.
Yeah.
You can tie yourself into a bit of a knot.
Kind of like Doctor numbering these days.
It is a bit, yes.
So then the Doctor uncovers that the Judoon had been deceived by these lizard shapeshifters with forged Galactic Council Shadow Proclamation orders.
Yeah.
And once he exposes the forgery, the Judoon withdraw, with the exception of the Judoon captain, who wants to take his revenge on Challoner and these others. Hence because I was wondering as we were getting into the book, I'm like, where does this revenge come in? But it's answered by the end. But Challoner manages to escape with Martha and transports her and him back to the Peacemaker's lab. And Martha gets tied up by Challoner, and here I was thinking, Terrance is kind of going for the damsel in distress sort of ending.
Yeah.
But Martha demonstrates quite a bit of her own ingenuity and prerogative and knocks Challoner into a fiery liquid cauldron, killing him and destroying the device and its effects. So, that was a nice surprise.
Yeah.
It was self-defense, but it was a little surprising, in terms of Martha's character. But I did appreciate that she took the initiative there and wasn't, waiting around for the Doctor to rescue her necessarily.
Yeah.
But that destroys both the device in London as well as Challoner himself.
Yeah. It does feel more like a Rose thing to do, doesn't it? So, but still, I mean, it's good that Martha does have something dramatic and a hero moment. So, though they've been victorious, the Doctor reminds Martha that they need to still deactivate the remaining temporal reversion devices worldwide. So they head off on their next mission, going to Paris, Rome, and then other major cities.
Including in China and Japan, which the ending with like these bomb disposal stuff that they have to do in all the different nation capitals, that in my mind could be seen as some sort of foreshadowing or a subtle retcon for Martha's year-long trek around the world in terms of like how she's able to navigate the various cities and kind of knew her way around them and stuff.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I guess it could also as well be maybe Terrance Dicks setting up another like season 6B or like, oh, here's another gap that you can write more stories in or something like that. So that is the Revenge of the Judoon. What do you make of it?
I like this one a little bit more than Made of Steel. I thought Terrance Dicks really knows how to like paint a scene like Balmoral in the morning and like the King's routine and all of that stuff. I found really just kind of ate that up and thought it was great. Yeah, I enjoyed this one quite a bit.
Yeah, Carruthers is a great foil, I think, for Martha. And they are good fun. I mean, it almost feels like it's not quite a Holmesian double act, No pun intended. But I mean, it's bordering on. It's bordering on that, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, this is my favourite story that we've read featuring Arthur Conan Doyle. I mean, the bar is quite low, but yeah.
Yeah, if I had to score this one, I think I would give this one an 8 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
Again, it left me wanting more, and I could see this one having enough plot or substance to really could be fleshed out to like a full novel-length adventure.
Yeah, I think the fact that Terrance is able to do research here and it's an era he can get his teeth into, I think that really does help. And and it does kind of like evoke Balmoral and also like Edwardian London well. And I did enjoy spending time with Carruthers. I mean, I did keep on imagining him as either Jago or Lightfoot or necessarily. There is very much that vibe. Yeah, it's a good book, I thought. I think I'll give it an 8 as well. I was going to give it a 7, but I think I've talked myself into a higher grade. It's the more fun of the two, I would say.
Yeah, and Terrance kind of going out on a high note.
Yeah, which is good.
And it's kind of odd that he never did write much for Big Finish. I mean, he worked on the Sarah Jane audio series, and I think he did a companion chronicle set after The Ultimate Adventure with Crystal and Jason, but that was about it. Yeah. There were some funny lines in this too, like when the Doctor first meets Edward, he mentions, "Oh, I've met your mom." Makes me wonder if Edward had ever heard of Torchwood.
Yes, yeah. Also, speaking of Edward at one point turns to Carruthers and says, "You know how long I wanted to be king? A very long time, Your Majesty."
And I chuckled a bit at there's a line about the Doctor mentioning that the Daleks had a new master plan every week.
Yes.
Which was kind of funny that the Daleks weren't mentioned at all in the Cybermen story.
Yeah.
Despite also being present at Canary Wharf.
Yeah.
I wonder if Terrance was wondering if like the old Virgin rules applied when he was writing Made of Steel, or what, if it was just, not mentioned there.
Or it could be that the BBC just said, well, let's just not do it because like otherwise they might need to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could very easily read Made of Steel and have no idea that the Daleks have been involved. But then again, it just told you what you needed to know for that story, which was that the Cybermen had attacked previously.
And when the Judoon turn on, like, the lizard people, the professor mentions, like, he's like, there are other mercenaries, and he rattles off both the Ogrons and also the mercenaries from the Rebos operation. And I think a monastery in Tibet also gets a mention. So there's a lot of fun little asides in this, too, for the more hardcore fan.
Yeah, but you don't need to know. Yeah.
What a treat. I mean, both of these felt like two missing Target novelizations almost.
Yeah. I think I would say of differing quality.
True.
Yes.
Yeah, not all Targets were that good, but...
No. Possibly more Planet of the Giants, less Day of the Daleks.
But yeah, there are 5 other books in this series.
Yeah.
So who knows? We might come back to it someday.
Yeah, indeed. But not next month. But we'll find out more about that later. Yes.
But first, we have some listener feedback.
So we got an email from Kenny Smith, a long-term listener, who said that he'd really enjoyed our episode on Last of the Gadarene, and he'd read it when it came out, and he'd listened to the audiobook when it's released, and he always felt that Mark Gatiss was trying to do the ultimate distillation of the Third Doctor's era. And for Kenny, Mark hits all the right notes. And Kenny says it's so easy to picture John Pertwee climbing into a Spitfire on film and flying around in it in a studio-based video complete with yellow CSO fringing. Yeah, true. It's true.
Yes.
And he says it's fun noting all these various elements that Mark would later revisit on television. And he was looking forward to our thoughts on the quick reads, which you'll have heard, Kenny. And he's also said that there are new episodes of The Power of Three dropping each Monday with all new interviews with the authors.
Quite prolific, yeah.
Yeah, very prolific. But also as well, I would say that Power of Three did slightly force my hand and change my pick recently. Because I try to not pick something that they have just covered.
Well, it's getting increasingly difficult as they're covering everything.
Yes, indeed. So I don't think we had any comments on Facebook. But what about Blue Sky and
our other socials?
Yes, our other socials. Yes.
So we heard from John Porter, who says that he recently finished Last of the Gadarene and says that he loves it and called it a superb love letter to the era,
Oh.
and that he's told Mark Gatiss so himself.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah.
Kind of echoing what Kenny was saying about like the ultimate distillation of like a Pertwee era story
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And then we heard from DZ Dex, who says Last of the Gadarene is a masterpiece and Gatiss at his best.
Cool.
And then finally we heard from Keith Say on Blue Sky, who thanked us for the podcast and said he enjoyed our discussion. And he thinks that the book was Mark Gatiss's love letter to the Pertwee era.
Mm-hmm.
So Keith guesses that the master had to be in it, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think 4 people kind of echoing those same thoughts about
Yeah.
Last of the Gadarene and kind of being this love letter to the Pertwee era. And I totally see that. For me, I guess it was just a little predictable in kind of the directions the plot goes. But viewing it from that lens of nostalgia and stuff, I totally agree and see that as well. So, Chris, I think this brings us to the moment. Anywhere in time and space, where do you want to go next?
Yeah. Well, I think we're still moderately early in the year, so it's always time to look for a new beginning. And so that's what we'll do. We'll also as well go for a book that was groundbreaking in its own way and featuring a TARDIS crew that was also groundbreaking. So we are going to be reading Doctor Who, A New Beginning by Jodie Hauser and Rachel Stott, featuring the 13th Doctor.
Oh, so the graphic novel.
Yeah, graphic novel featuring an all-female creative team.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
Very excited to get into that because, I've read some of the Panini stuff with Jodie, but not the Titan stuff. So.
Yeah, I haven't read any of the Titan stuff.
Lovely.
Marvelous.
As time goes on, I'm appreciating the Jodie Whittaker era more and more, just for being something different. And yeah. So for March.
Yes. Yeah, and the book is available on ebook format as well as paperback format. And again, if you're in the UK, I suspect if you go to your local library, then you might well find it. And also as well, we've got more stories featuring Jodie's Doctor to look forward to for a big finish later on this year as well.
Yes, I have that pre-ordered, 12 new adventures, and I think they've recorded maybe a third or close to half of them by now. And Jodie and Mandip seem very excited to promote them on the convention circuit, so very much looking forward to that.
Cool.
Exciting.
Yeah, and also hopefully a moderately quick read as well, because we'll both be kind of busy. You'll be recovering from console room, and if listeners are remarkably fleet of foot, you might be able to see me at Ghost Festival in Derby this year, which is later on in February.
I think Big Finish announced that their Big Finish Day is going to be in Derby at the Quad this summer.
Okay. Yes, I am no stranger to the Quad. We are not at the Quad for this event, but listeners, if you're from Derby, please cover your ears. Lauren and I think, are being a little bit choosy about when we go to Derby because we often find ourselves there for conventions. And it's a really good place to have a convention just because it is central within the UK, or certainly within England, and it's relatively affordable accommodation-wise and stuff. So, and London has so many things. I certainly do not begrudge going out of London to go to somewhere else for it. So off to Derby, which was also, as I think I said before last time we spoke about Derby, it was the furthest south that Bonnie Prince Charlie got. When they were marching south in the Jacobite rebellion. So Jamie McCrimmon probably set foot in Derby. On that note.
Well, until next month, and Doctor Who: A New Beginning. This has been Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London. Happy reading. Stay safe. And see you next month.
Thank you for listening to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. Special thanks to George C. Music for use of their song Doctor Who Theme Swing Jazz Version. You can follow us on Twitter at ANDWBC Podcast and like us on Facebook. Help other listeners to find us by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. You can contact the show by emailing your thoughts to andwbcpodcast@gmail.com. And until next month, happy reading.
have a fantastic console room. I look forward to joining it on Friday night and Sunday night, and probably also dipping in for live events throughout the rest of the weekend.
Excellent.
It's not a public holiday this Monday, is it? Or
No.
that Monday, or yeah. Because it was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a couple weekends later, which we had our really cold snap like last weekend, which is when it typically is.
Yeah.
So it's actually going to get up to like 35 or 40 degrees when they're out here, Fahrenheit. So they won't have quite the Minnesota experience that you had.
No. No, fair enough.
I haven't had a chance to listen to the In Defensive yet, or watch, I should say.
Yes. It's suitably chaotic, I think, because like at one point it does just become Kathy and me. But like we just gotta go, okay, fine. Yeah, because Rob drops off at a amusingly appropriate moment.